Welcome everyone back to Weekly Weather Updates, and in today's video we'll have a look at the latest from the live radar, the weather warnings, the UK Met Office precipitation and temperature, then we'll go for the GFS, the GM, the ECMWF, the UK Met Office Run, the GFS and the ECMWF Ensembles. So quite a packed video today as we're going to be covering quite a lot that could be happening over the next 7 to 10 days. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe, and remember to follow on Twitter as well, the link's in the description. For the bulk of the video, we're going to have a look at the potential for colder weather next week, looking like we could be seeing snow returning for quite a few during the middle to the end of the week, and some of the models are still hinting at a Scandinavian high towards next weekend, and we're seeing quite a few of the operational runs really properly showing a bit of consistency with it, and some of the ensembles. But typically we do have a bit of a battle going on with GM, ECMWF showing the Scandinavian high, GFS and its ensembles showing westerly winds. So we'll have a look how that does evolve. But first, we have a bit of a development overnight. We were looking at heavier rain moving through today, nothing too unusual, but it's obviously a bit stronger than initially forecasted, and we have seen a thunderstorm warning put in force for the far southeast for this area of heavy rain. Now, by the time you're watching this, this may have been already moved through your area, or is hitting you, or is about to come. So, as I'm looking at this, about 2:30, we are seeing quite a lengthy area of pretty moderate to heavy rain, and there's torrential rain embedded within it. Now, the thunderstorm warning is in the far southeast, and you can see we have some very heavy rain moving through parts of Portsmouth, Isle of Wight, through Oxfordshire, and will move into the London area over the next hour or two. Again, any lightning risk will be only in these heavier patches, and the lightning risk is pretty small. Biggest impact will be from heavier rain, strong winds, and potentially some hail around as well. The weather front does, or the occluded front, let's just say, does move further northwards as well, and we're seeing some very heavy rain through parts of Yorkshire, could be disruptive as well, and some heavier rain through northern Scotland, but this isn't too unusual, and this is as low pressure is coming back in. It's that higher pressure that's been in control over the last sort of 5 days or so over Europe, giving us very mild southwesterly winds, is really losing control now, and we are seeing a lot more low pressure influence. We're going to be seeing a lot more of this rain, and it could be turning to snow next week. So we do have a look at the weather warnings. We can see the yellow thunderstorm warning for the south and southeast. You can see a band of thunderstorms move quickly eastwards, perhaps leading to some localised disruption. It was put in force at midday today and expires at 6 PM. So quite a short warning, and it was only issued at 10:45. So very short notice. 15 to 20 millimetres of rain is possible in an hour or less, and gusts of up to 50 miles per hour. High impact, low likelihood, so again, only will be in those intense portions. So not too disruptive, but of course I want to keep you all informed because this could impact you over the course of this afternoon into this evening. Now, have a look at next week. I'm going to start by having a look at the UK Met Office Run. Now, normally I have a look at this model, have a look at precipitation and temperature towards the end of the video, but I've been getting a lot of comments recently talking about snow next week. A lot of people are saying it doesn't look like there'll be any snow, bit of an overhype. However, I'll show you the raw model from the UK Met Office Run, having a look at the precipitation and temperature next week, and you can see how and where the snow will be placed. Again, it's not 100% accurate, but this is the latest data we have. So I just want to put this out at the start of the video, just so anyone who is looking at snow next week can see pretty much the most highly regarded model and what that is showing. Now, this is the 3 o'clock run from this morning, and you can see the heavier rain pushing through over the course of this afternoon through London area, clearing many areas by around 5-6 PM. Still some lingering showers in the north and northwest over the course of this evening, and over the course of tonight you'll see starting to turn to snow. Initially, tomorrow morning, only over the highest ground of Scotland, but you can see that cold front spreading southwards to the north of it. Pretty much most showers are now wintry of nature, sleet and snow. Again, accumulations will be initially exclusive to higher ground, but to low-lying areas for a time potentially across Scotland. Now, I didn't look at the snow warning for Scotland at this stage. We had a look at it in yesterday's video, But do check that out if you are interested, of course, and missed yesterday's video. I'm sure it will be updated or changed or whatever in the next day or two, as it does come into force on Tuesday. Now you can see we do have that cold front moving through, and we have the potential for some snowfall within that over higher ground. And you can see again over northern England, Peak District, Yorkshire, we're going to be seeing some snow within that. And then you can see the potential for that little channel low system has shifted southwards overnight on the UKMO Operational Run, so only showing a little bit of rain for the far southeast. But that is going to pull in colder air faster, so it could mean this cold front produces more snow. And you can see that cold front, as it moves southwards, patchy snow within it. Again, this is a similar scenario when we had Storm Bara and Storm Arwen earlier this season, where very small shifts in the weather front can give drastically different scenarios. Some areas 10 miles away seeing snow, other areas seeing nothing, just rain. So, as I said, this is only the latest representation, and this could become upgraded, more snow, or it could downgrade, less snow within it. So, yeah, we'll have to see. Again, you can see over North Scotland, a lot of snowfall packing in on showers, and across Northern Ireland as well, and Ireland, some showers. And you can see when that weather front moves through, potentially some snow on its back edge, of course, and then we see a lot of northwesterly winds. Snow showers even coming quite far inland into the northwest, southwest, into Wales, even into parts of the Midlands, and you couldn't rule out into the far southeast seeing some of these showers carry through if they band up at times. And northern Scotland, of course, where we have the weather warnings, are going to be the area most hit by any snowfall. And we see those showers continue before finally starting to be cut out by Thursday, before we see a weather front move through. Snow on its leading edge, especially in the north and across Scotland, northern England, has a brief milder sector. But as we head through Thursday evening into early hours of Friday, you can see those showers readily turning back to snow as polar maritime air mass does take back over. And you can see a lot of snowfall packing in to the west. Again, most of the accumulations will be over higher ground. But you can't rule it out to low-lying areas if we see significant snow. And again, it's a good 5 days away, so things can change. So just wanted to show this, just so anyone who is very interested in where we could be seeing snow can have a look at the raw model data from the most highly regarded model. Now, if we have a look at max temperatures, which will show us sort of temperatures we could be seeing next week. Now, you can see today it's really quite mild still, 11 or 12 in the south, but cooling down in the north. Over the course of this evening and tomorrow, you can see rapidly cooling down across the north, down to freezing in a few spots. And by tomorrow afternoon, we're seeing big temperature contrasts. 9 or 10 degrees in London, but parts of Northern Ireland, far north of England, Scotland, down into low single digits, if not down to freezing over higher ground. Over the course of Monday evening, all areas in the north are going to be rapidly cooling down to around freezing or below freezing. And by early hours of Tuesday, that cold air is sinking very quickly southwards. And most areas will wake up on Tuesday to a much colder sort of conditions. Far southeast may hold on to 7 or 8 degrees throughout the morning. But by the afternoon, those temperatures will drop down to 3, 4, 5 degrees max. Many areas not getting above 2 or 3. So very chilly, and across the north, around freezing. And of course, coming off the very mild spell we've had now, it's going to feel a lot colder than if it has been 7 or 8 degrees recently. If it had been 7 or 8 degrees, this would feel chilly, but not quite as big of a drop off as it's going to feel like, because we've had 14 degrees for many. Of course, wind chill around as well, which will make it feel really quite cold. And beyond that, widespread frost through early hours of Tuesday into Wednesday. Wednesday afternoon, again, max temperatures seeing around 3, 4 degrees, but really peaking at that. And you can see by 6 p.m, those temperatures dropping away rapidly to around freezing. Again, far southeast may hold on to 2 or 3 degrees, but all areas overnight are going to get really cold through Thursday. Minus 1, 2, 3 degrees widely, and could be minus double digit across Scotland. Before we see weather front push in, and again, snow on its leading edge potentially, maybe even quite widely. But you can see a wedge of milder air, 10 or 11 degrees, but that moves through very quickly. Polar maritime air mass and temperatures dropping back down through the early hours of Friday, back towards freezing. So it's looking like a really quite chilly week coming up, especially northern and western areas. Could be seeing snowfall around, as we've seen, and many southern areas looking even quite cold as well. I know some people have been saying, oh, it'll be 7 or 8 degrees, but looking at this raw model data, some areas may see 6 or 7 degrees max just for a few hours, maybe on Thursday when we have a milder sector moving through, but many areas are not going to be getting above 4 or 5 degrees from around Tuesday onwards, perhaps until the weekend where we could see a milder sector come through, but that's where the big uncertainty comes in. So we do have a look at the longer term forecast now. Now I do want to have a look at the NAO and the AO, and now I've mentioned these quite a lot in winter look aheads we did earlier in October, and over some of the videos over the last month, because they do give us an indication of what sort of blocking patterns we're seeing. Now, positive NAO means a lot of low pressure westerly winds in the North Atlantic, and you can see the NAO is positive, so that is going to be resemblance of quite a strong jet stream coming in off the North Atlantic with a lot of low pressure, and that's what we're seeing over the next 5 to 7 days after the that northerly wind moves through on Tuesday, Wednesday. However, if we have a look at the AO, you can see it does go positive for a time next week, but we're seeing a signal within some of the GFS ensembles, about a 50-50 split, some going negative again. And that is this blocking that we have been seeing over the last few days, and that Scandinavian high that could be building in. Some going really negative, showing blocking returning over to the Arctic, and it could turn things colder once again, and it could mean we see low pressure from that NAO bumping into colder block to our north or east, and that's where we could see stationary weather fronts and snow. And that's what we're seeing on the GEM, which I'll show you later in the video. Again, it's a battleground scenario between blocking trying to build in over the Arctic towards Scandinavia and westerly winds with big low pressure systems coming out of northern Canada. And which one wins out is what we've got to be having a look at over the next few days, and we'll have a look at today as well. Now, if we do have a look at the GFS, now GFS is very much going for the NAO pattern with westerly winds. Now, you can see northerly winds moving through at the moment, pretty chilly. And then we see a brief ridge of high pressure with a bit of a milder sector before northwesterly winds, chilly polar maritime air mass. The uncertainty comes in around a week's time with this low pressure system. You see a bit of blocking developing to the north, a bit of high pressure, but the GFS doesn't do anything with it. It just stays with a northwesterly flow, and we just continue with westerly winds all the way to the end of the run. Trying some amplification at times, but nothing too major coming out. Just generally looking sort of oscillating between milder and colder sectors, with temperatures probably coming out around average. And you can see right towards the end of the run, trying to build in a northerly wind, but it is definitely got a more powered up jet stream than we'll see with the other models, with westerly winds winning out for most. Now, if we do have a look at precipitation, just want to run through this briefly. Again, you can see over the next few days a lot of heavier rain moving through, then that weather front moving in from the north, turning to snow quite widely over higher ground, and potentially into southern England could be seeing snow, and then we see a lot of streamers. Snow showers moving in from the north. Before things clear up, we see a weather front move through, snow on its leading edge, especially in the north, before, once that clears through, more colder northwesterly winds moving in. Now, of course, after this, it goes very much more westerly, and still snow over northern hills potentially, but milder than we'll see with other runs. So no point really going out beyond 7 days because there is a lot of uncertainty, of course. Now, if we have a look at the GM, which is by far the most interesting run, I must say. Now we see the northerly wind come through, pretty expected, and it does show that low pressure system developing a bit more significantly than the other runs, and as we'll see with the precipitation in a minute, showing a lot more snow potentially with that. Beyond that, though, we see those westerly winds move in, but we see Scandinavian High developing. That low drops through to our south, and we see easterly winds trying to win out. Strong jet stream, but blocking towards Scandinavia, trying to win out and trying to pull in easterly winds. And you can see 850 HP temperature, not brutally cold. -5 line moving in, definitely, but it's not brutally cold. But it's cold enough for temperatures low single digits in the day, dew points below freezing, and if precipitation fell, would be falling wintry, definitely over higher ground, and depending on the exact conditions, exact time of day, low-lying areas as well could be seeing snow. So GM going for a much colder, settled pattern, and of course with these low pressure systems trying to come up against the block, trying to budge it out of the way, could see significant snow as well. And if we do have a look at the precipitation, you can see, we do budge down a little bit, you can see snow potentially over the course of the next few days as that low pressure system comes up from the south, bumps into that colder air. Heavy snow potentially across the Midlands and into central southern England as well as it moves through, and then just a lot of snow showers moving in, packing in on that northwesterly wind. Weather front moves in, heavy snow on its leading edge, but then turning back to rain before polar maritime air mass moves through and things turning back to snow. And then we start to see easterly winds come in. You see a lot drier than the other models, and you're seeing weather fronts bump into that colder air, and we're seeing more snowfall. And once again, you see another weather front trying to bump into that colder air and seeing snow just stationary across the Midlands into central southern England, and just, very significant conditions can be seen there. Just a stationary weather front bringing snow. So that's the sort of scenario we can see with the GM. Now, the GM is kind of polar opposites to the GFS, really building in that Scandinavian High, and this all sort of diverges at around day 7 towards next weekend. So we'll have to see how this really comes out. But the Scandinavian High definitely is a real possibility. I know some people have been playing it out saying, it's just at the end of the runs, but we're seeing a real possibility at day 7. Now, why we're seeing it as a real possibility, and I'm definitely more confident in it and giving it sort of a 50-50 shot at this stage, is because the ECMWF is on board from the midnight run. Not the exact same pattern as GM, but it has got a Scandinavian High building. See low pressure with a northwesterly wind, and then high pressure to the north, not quite dominating as quickly as the GM, but we see a Scandinavian High building in. Now, the ECMWF is much more settled in terms of the high pressure is more over the UK, extending towards Scandinavia, giving us a bit of an easterly flow with really quite cold edges to our east. And you can see there is milder air trying to build in from the west, but under an inversion with high pressure would be cold, chilly, settled. And of course, if that high pressure got going towards Scandinavia, which it definitely looks like it could be doing if we ran this on another day or two, we would start to be pulling in easterly winds, chilly air, and we could be seeing something similar to that GM run. No beast from the east by any means, but a Scandinavian High could be potentially pulling in a chilly easterly wind with weather fronts trying to bump into it, and of course easterly convection as well could be producing snow for some, maybe as soon as a week's time quite widely. So it's very much up in the air, but the possibility is there, and these things can change very, very quickly. This only has cropped up in the models in the last 2 or 3 days. We've only seen it from the main models in the last day or two, and it's coming into sort of the 7-day time frame. So I have to see, of course, how it does play out. Now, if we also have a look at the UKMO Office Run, which isn't going exactly for the Scandinavian High, but it is going for blocking at day 7. So it could go follow on to GM and the ECMWF, but we don't quite have it as far out as 240 hours to see what it does between day 7 and day 10. So as we do run through, very similar over the next few days, of course. We saw the precipitation with this on the UKMO Office Run at the beginning of the video. Again, we see high pressure trying to hang on, but the northwesterly winds winning out. As we head to 168 hours, we see that low diving to our south, high pressure building over Iceland. Now, it's not strong enough at this stage to hold off the Atlantic, but it is strengthening, and that's why I say between day 7 and day 10, if we could have a look on this run, we would see if it does properly go with that Scandinavian High. If we have a look at the 850 temperatures, nothing too exceptional, but much colder air to our northeast, and I definitely do think the UKMO Office Run does downplay the upper air temperatures, because even on the GFS run, we're seeing much colder air even to our northwest at this stage. So again, we'll have to see how this does play out, but UKMO Office Run definitely very interested in this blocking pattern as well. Now, if we do finish up the video, I know it's getting a little bit long, but having a look at the ECMWF and the GFS Ensembles, we'll run through this quite quickly. Now, if we go to day 5, where there's quite a lot of uncertainty at this stage, you can see northwesterly winds on all of these runs, slightly different orientation, and that will change slightly the positioning of the colder air mass. But we're seeing quite a decent model consensus from that. Day 7, though, is the uncertainty. We see all of the models showing an extent of blocking towards Greenland, Iceland, Scandinavia. But it's all about where the low pressure system's placed. You can see 15 northwesterly winds, another 11, including the operational run, having that low dropping would be more of a northerly wind, another 10, probably northeasterly winds by this stage, another 9 with low pressure extending through the Atlantic, westerly winds, another 6, high pressure trying to build up from the south, would be more settled but could be milder initially. We go to day 10, 20, including the control run, going for easterly winds. Now, it's not beast from the east because that high pressure isn't quite as far northwards and we haven't got that bitterly cold air wrapping around, but it would be very cold. Temperatures low single digits, overnight temperature below freezing, and snow would be there would be snow potential around with that easterly wind, but it's coming up against a strong Atlantic. Another 14 have a mid-Atlantic ridge northerly wind. Now this would be more of a westerly pattern, but it would be a mid-Atlantic ridge, so just would be a temporary cold spell. Another 10 going for easterly winds, more low pressure influence to our south, could be introducing some milder air from the south, but at the same time that could introduce precipitation and snowfall. And another 13 have high pressure over the top of the UK, would be drier but probably a little bit milder. So you can see the ECMWF Ensembles very much going for the Scandinavian High. Now if we go all the way to the end of the run, 360 hours, extended range, you can still see higher pressure is very much influencing conditions. Northwesterly winds on 29 of the runs, 56.9%, or 22, 43.1%, have low pressure trying to come in off the Atlantic, high pressure towards Scandinavia trying to block it out. So yeah, very interesting from the ECMWF Ensembles. We saw this again yesterday, and we're seeing it repeating once again today with the Scandinavian High definitely having an above 50% chance on this latest ECMWF Ensemble run at around day 7 to day 10. More than a 50% chance of forming, and if it holds on, at least for a few days, we could be seeing much colder conditions for all. So, again, we'll have to see how this does play out. Now, as I said, the GFS Ensembles are a bit different. You can see mild at the moment, dropping much colder this week, and staying pretty chilly all the way to around the 9th, 10th of January. You can see, we do see brief milder sectors moving through, but you can see their extent of mildness is really only up to around average, around -1, -2, 850 HPA, so maximum would give highs of maybe 6 or 7 degrees, and again, over northern hills, that will maybe be 3 or 4 degrees, so not particularly mild. However, as we get towards the 9th, 10th of January, so day 7, day 8 range, when we're seeing those ECMWF Ensembles, ECMWF Run, GEM Run, starting to pull in an easterly wind in from the Scandinavian High, we see the GFS Ensembles bringing in westerly winds. The GFS Ensembles very much more in favour of that Atlantic influence, and you can see them going much milder, some staying quite cold, so there are still some going for the ECMWF and GM sort of scenario with easterly winds, but quite a few going much milder, and that signal continues. Again, a cooling trend in the long term, quite a few going down to -5 or below, and we saw that in last night's ensemble run. Longer term, quite a cold signal on the ensembles, but around day 10, we're seeing on the GFS Ensembles more of a westerly influence. High pressure does look like it will build in the longer term. You can see precipitation dropping off. It's just a mixed signal really on the GFS at this stage. We're going to have to see how it does over the next day or two. I definitely do think there'll be a lot of flip-flopping within the ensembles and within the models. I can guarantee you we will see probably in the next day or two a run showing bitterly cold easterly winds, but it won't come off. And I know we'll see a lot of tweets about it with sort of a beast from the east scenario, whatever. But we just got to keep an eye on this at this stage. No guarantee of any bitterly cold weather, but this Scandinavian High influence could very much turn things colder. Because remember, it's January. It's the peak of winter. So even if we get -5 line through, which generally isn't brutally cold, if we're looking at brutally cold conditions, we're talking -10 to -15. Being middle of January, it's still very much cold enough to bring us frigid conditions, temperatures low single digits, if not below freezing at night, and snowfall as well. So I have to keep an eye on how this does develop over the next week or two. But by no means is it looking guaranteed mild and westerly at this stage. There very much is a lot a lot at play. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.